Good morning. This is actually the dregs of my coffee, just a little bit left. It is later in the morning. By the way, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda. It's time for my weekly update. It is later in the morning. The reason it's later in the morning is I thought, well, I'm gonna wait a little bit so I make sure the garbage trucks are gone because I'm doing this on Friday. Friday's garbage truck day, which I did, but now they're doing some kind of construction out my window. So if you hear like a weird buzzing or humming, that's what it is. I have no control, and I'm sure any minute my husband's gonna come down and make lunch. It's just the way it is. Anyway, how have y'all been this week? This was a good week for me, I guess. It was my daughter's. So it was my daughter's 15th birthday on Tuesday, and we, my husband made crepes for dinner. We did not go to the diner, which isn't that great. He said he'd make crepes, so it's really good. And she got a ice cream cake, which we are still working on from Dairy Queen. That's what she wanted. Boy, my life got so much easier once my kids discovered Dairy Queen ice cream cakes. Oh yeah, I don't have to make cakes anymore. And then Wednesday was Oregon's birthday. Not that I do anything but post things on Facebook saying how wonderful Oregon is. And what else? Oh, it's Valentine's Day. We didn't do much. It was Ash Wednesday. We went to church. That was our Wednesday. So yeah, one thing I will tell you, I did, so on Wednesday, I did my Bard room. And I know my Wednesdays with Will are my lowest viewed videos, and that's fine. Not everyone needs to like what I like, but I like doing those. But I have decided I'm not gonna do them every Wednesday, just Wednesdays when I have something to say. I was gonna do one the first Wednesday of this month, and then tech happened. But I was like, it's why work to do something when you don't have that much to say. So Wednesdays with Will be most Wednesdays. But the drawing for our March play is Henry IV Part 1. So I went to bookshop.org. I'm going to preface this by saying I love bookshop.org. And I ordered both Henry IV Part 1 and Henry IV Part 2. These are the books that arrived. You know, I've had things like this happen with Amazon, so this is not a bookshop thing, but I will say when I had it with Amazon, it was a hassle. With Bookshop, I emailed them and told them what happened, and they said, we are so sorry, we're gonna send you your books right away, no charge, and we'll let you know if the distributor wants those books back, and they wrote back and said they didn't, so those will be going into a little free library. Maybe not this weekend, because this weekend is Depot Day for cookies, so I'll be all Girl Scout cookies. But this one, I was looking through it, and if I had known about this book when my kids were little, I probably would have gotten it, but lots of kind of fun little things to do with kids in this one. I'm waiting to see though, so for the last 2 Depot Day weekends, so I'm the troop leader and the cookie mom, last 2 Depot Day weekends, I've had to take my husband to the urgent care. So far things look good, but if it's the 3rd year in a row, someone's telling me that maybe, I don't know, something's going on. But so far, things have been good. No urgent care trips. I'll let you know next week if that holds. But anyway, so that happened. What else? I am still reading for the BookTube prize. That's good. This weekend coming up, Depot Day on Saturday. So I'm not working at Depot Day, but because I have to get the cookies and bring them back. My co-leader is going to be at the Depot Day, but we'll go pick up the cookies, bring them back, sort them, and people come get them. And then I will have our cookie pantry will be in my living room. So for the next couple weeks, I'll have boxes of Girl Scout cookies in my living room. But anyway, so I don't have that much to say. Oh, I am going to go see my family down in Salem on Sunday after church to celebrate Christmas. And yes, I know it is mid-February, but we all had busy schedules, and that was the first weekend we could find that worked for everybody. Which is good because my niece's new little girl, who was born in July, I have yet to see. So I get to see little Hazel May, and I get to see other little girls who are just very sweet. So I'm very excited about that. Although I do need to wrap their gifts, and considering that it's February and I have not yet wrapped their Christmas gifts. When I say I mean my husband wrap their Christmas gifts. Doesn't look well on us. So we need to get on that. So let me get to what I have read this week. So I did finish 4 books this week, but I can only tell you about 2 of them because 2 were for the BookTube prize. So 2 down, 4 to go. And I am currently reading 2, so we're getting through this. I have decided I'm going to take at least the next round of the BookTube prize off. I may come, so the next one's quarterfinals. I'm going to take the quarterfinals off. And I do want to do the finals, and I might also do the semifinals. But right now, I just want to kind of stabilize my reading a bit and get things back under control. And then when I go back to the next round that I choose, which will probably be the semifinals, I will be in a better place to start now that I know what it's like. Because this was my first round ever judging the BookTube prize, but I've really enjoyed it. I just need to get things a little organized better. But anyway, I finished 2 BookTube books, which you will find out about in April when I release my very long, kind of not that interesting vlog of all the books I read. So the 2 that I did finish, the first one was a buddy read with Maryla at Books and Bocadillos, and we did Symphony of Secrets by Brendan Slocumb. I want to call him Brenda Slocumb all the time. That's not very nice. But every time I hear the word Brenda, I remember a friend of mine, we were in school. We were in every class in elementary school. We went to school from first grade to graduating high school. And I remember the first day of first grade, we both had Mork and Mindy lunchboxes. And my nickname was Mindy. I don't go by that anymore. And she said, "You have my lunchbox." And I said, "No, it's my lunchbox. It's called Mork and Mindy, not Mork and Brenda." So anyway, totally pointless aside. I'm sorry, back to Symphony of Secrets. I really liked this. So I liked The Violent Conspiracy, which was his first book. Highly recommend the book. It's great. Not perfect. There were some issues with it. Mainly his treatment of villains, because they were very cartoony in that book. This book, he has made improvements in that area. Still not perfect, but improvements. I appreciate improvements. So the villains in this book aren't quite as cartoony. But this is a much more complex story than The Violent Conspiracy. It is dual timeline, which at first I was a little frustrated because one of the timelines was more interesting to me than the other. But then it started merging well after we get a chance to see both timelines, then they start coming together better. It is definitely a thriller. Like once I got to about, I don't know, there, I could not put this book down. Couldn't. I won't say there were a lot of super surprises in this, but still when things happened, which you kind of knew would happen, but you didn't want to happen, you still got that payoff because of the way it was written. So I like that. What else? Oh, I was thinking about this book and what this reminded me of. I mean, it definitely has a musical. Brendan Slocumb is a musician, and that's a big part of his books, and I love that. But this also reminded me of, if you read Fiona Davis and you enjoy Fiona Davis, but you want to read something that's not exactly like all of her books, because after you read like 3, her books all feel exactly the same. This is a great book for you because it does have that sort of a little bit of that setup, but it gives you kind of the same payoff as a Fiona Davis book. Even though hers aren't really thrillers, this is definitely much more of a thriller. I really liked the 3 sort of, there's like 2 real main characters and then a prominent secondary character that I really liked in this book. Really was interested in them and seeing what happened. And I think he did a really good job with those. I ended up giving this an A+, only because I gave The Violent Conspiracy an A, and I wanted this to have a higher score. But I recommend both of them. I really enjoyed Symphony of Secrets by Brendan Slocumb. The other book I read was for the Book Cougars first quarter readathon. That every year they choose a theme, and this year's theme is romance. And I was like, okay. If you've been watching my channel, you know that romance is not currently a genre that speaks to me. Not that I think there's anything wrong with the genre. In 2017, all I read was romance because I needed stories that I knew would have a happy ending and everything would work out in the end. So I just read romance in 2017. And I think I might have gotten a little burnt out. But I do. I mean, I'm not one of those people who thinks that romance is like a lesser genre. It just isn't speaking to me. But I thought, okay, well, I'm going to give this a try. So the book that they chose for their first book is Indigo by Beverly Jenkins. So Beverly Jenkins is an author I hadn't read, but I knew all about. She's like a grande dame of the romance genre. And I even recently was listening to the Book Riot podcast, and Jeff was talking with the hosts of their romance podcast, which I don't normally listen to. And this book was cited as like one of the books that all romance readers should read, which at the time, because I was pretty far in this book when I heard that, I was like, really? So the thing about romance is, as a genre, it is really good about the expectations in a romance and what is considered acceptable in a romance book changes with the times. We all know the stories of the really rapey romance novels of the 80s. Now, things like that, in the 2020s, that would not go. This book was written in the 1990s. It is not rapey, but there are definite consent issues in this book, enough that made my skin crawl. And I kept reminding myself, this is what they were like in the 90s. This is what romance novels was acceptable. Things like this were acceptable in romance novels in the 90s. You're just not reading it in the 90s. Which, to me, I'm like, yes, that's true, but it also doesn't make it okay. It does not make it okay. And it's my feelings when I would read these scenes, like, I mean, they're still there. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into detail because I don't want to spoil this. And I know I have some new followers from Book Cougars because they saw me on the video we did last week and they came over, so welcome. They're people that I've seen on our Zoom discussion, so now here we go. Hi, welcome. I don't want to get too much into spoilers on that, but other than the fact that I thought there were some real consent issues. Now, for things that there were things that also beyond that I liked and disliked. I did really like, I learned a lot about, I mean, I always knew about the Underground Railroad, but more of the, sort of the details that I didn't know about. Plus sort of the experience of, freed African Americans in the North during this time. I found all that really interesting. So that was great. I do think that Beverly Jenkins is a good writer. I mean, her prose is nice. I mean, sometimes in her spicy scenes, she goes a little bit to like cheesy cliche. I mean, she did. Again, 90s, she's probably a different writer now because romance writers are really good about changing with the times. But in this book, I was like, oh, God, do I have to hear the word manhood one more time? But anyway, but the characters generally were really good. I do say generally. There was one character that, kind of like in Brendan Slocumb's books, this first one, was really cartoony. And that was frustrating because I think if this character had been written with more nuance, the role that this character played in the book would have had more impact. I'm not going to say more than that because, again, there's a discussion coming up in March about this. I did also feel there were things that happened in the plot that would have been really cool if they had the seeds of them had been planted better, shall we say, in the plot earlier, so that it was a big payoff when you got to it, other than feeling like something was just dropped in. There were also times when I felt like something really big was coming, and then when it came, it wasn't as big as it should be, and I felt a little disappointed. I ended up giving this one a C. You know, but it does, I definitely would like to read a modern Beverly Jenkins, she is still writing, to compare it. And maybe I will do that when when this round of BookTube, BookTube prize judging is over and I have a little bit of a break. I might look up her newest book and read it as a comparison. I don't know, but that's what I kind of felt about that book, and I'm looking forward to discussing it. So, as for what I am currently reading, I have a little list because I always forget. So, in addition to the BookTube prize books I'm not talking about, and in addition to sort of my long-term reads that I talk about when I start and then when I finish, but I don't mention them every month, I have 6 books to talk about. So, I have moved on to this month's Agatha Christie, which is Cards on the Table. I just started it yesterday, so I have nothing to say about it, really. It's a Poirot, but you also have a superintendent. You have Superintendent Battle and Colonel Race? Do you have Battle and Race? Or you just have Race? I can't remember, but you have Ariadne Oliver in this too. So this is, the setup to this is really good, and I'm really interested to see where this one goes. I've been reading Agatha Christie's books in roughly publication order. This year I decided to make it a little more formal, and I have kind of assigned an Agatha Christie book to each month, so this is February's book. And then I had been reading, and then I put down when I felt like I had too much going, but I have picked up again for Historathon, A History of Ancient Rome in 100 Lives by Philip Matyszak and Joanne Barry. So this is basically 100 little sort of mini biographies of ancient Romans that's organized, that's going to take you through basically the Roman period. I am on number 30 of 100. I'm enjoying it so far. I do like this format. It is easy, maybe a little too easy to put up and put down, because I put it down and I didn't pick it up for a while. But yeah, this is a good little book to read for Historathon. For my library book group, I am still working on Braiding Sweetgrass, which I am loving. I could probably get through this a lot faster if I weren't reading a bunch of other books, but that's okay. I'm taking my time with this, and I have time. It's not until the beginning of March that we have our book club discussion, but I am loving this. I love the writing. I love the message. I am glad that I also have this on audio, so in somewhat the near future, I can listen to it on audio and get it all over again, but really enjoying Braiding Sweetgrass. And then I have a book that I've actually been reading kind of like off and on all month, and I forgot to mention it. And then I forgot again to mention it. And then I realized we're halfway through the month, so I need to actually maybe be a little less casual about picking it up. And that's the Beadworkers by Beth Piatote. This is a reread for me, but I am rereading it with Sarah Roadworthy, and we're going to have a discussion about it. Fortunately, as I said, I'm like reading a little bit and doing my thing. And then, because I've already read it. But I am looking forward to discussing this with Sarah, because it is a first time read for her and a reread for me. And I always find more on a reread. Plus, I'm paying more attention to the language and little things in it than I would the first time I read it. So there you go. On digital, after I finished Indigo, I picked up just yesterday, I picked up Acqua Alta by Donna, which is number, 5, 6 or something in the Commissario Brunetti series. I just started it yesterday, but it's a pretty fast moving book. I do like this series. It is a very long series. She's been coming out with a book a year for over 30 years. So we're still like in the 90s on this one. And again, we have that like sort of this is the 90s thing. So not the last book, but either the book before or 2 books before. I ended up DNFing in that because the language around members of the LGBTQ community they were very typical of that period of time, but they were very offensive to read. And it wasn't just like characters saying it. It was in the narrative itself. And I couldn't. So I just DNF'd that one, and I was able to easily move to the next book. I didn't feel like I had missed anything. I am heartened. So this book is only like 2 or 3 years newer than that book. In this book, we do have 2 women who are in a relationship with each other. And yes, there is a character who's a really awful character. It's the main character's boss, who's just he's sort of your toxic boss, does make remarks, and there are people who make remarks who are not good people, but generally the treatment of these 2 characters is much more positive and much more inclusive and respectful than it was in the book that I DNF'd. So I am happy about that, but I am only like 13% in, so I can't really talk about the plot. And then I am still working on Mrs. Mohr is Missing on audio. Again, this is a little bit slower because one of the BookTube prize books that I finished was on audio, and then I have started another one on audio. So I'm doing 2 audiobooks right now, which I don't usually do. And honestly, once I finish Mrs. Mohr is Missing, I'm not going to start another audio until I finish the current BookTube prize book that I have on audio. But Mrs. Mohr is Missing, it's fine. Again, enjoying the narration. I just am not really loving the main character. She's kind of an annoying character, I gotta be honest. So I think I'll finish this one out so I can say that I read a Polish book for one of my Storygraph challenges, and then we're good. And then I think I will move on to something different because it just, it's fine. I did have a friend who started this book reading it, and she had a hard time with it because of the names she was reading it. So I suggested, and she's much more of an audiobook listener than I am, and I suggested that she listen to it on audio. But I think if she had trouble with it in print, I think audio was probably the right choice for me, because again, the narrator, whose name I don't remember, is fantastic. It's a very delightful audio. It just isn't like, it's an okay story. It's fine. It's fine. So anyway, that is what's going on. If you've been watching, you know I hit my 500 and we're moving past it. So I am collecting, as I'm trying to catch up on comments, I'm collecting those questions, and I will do that at the end of this month. I will do a video answering those questions. So you can still give me those answers. Give me those questions. You can put them in down below. Don't worry if someone's already asked them. I'll group them all together. It's fine. Yeah. So like, subscribe, join my Discord. I'm saying the wrong word for things. Like, pronunciation is hard for me today. It's probably that buzzing that's going on out there. Like, subscribe, join my Discord. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.